Welcome back to Silverstone and the resumption after lunch of this 750 Motor Club race meeting, where we'll have out on track in just a few moments' time the cars for the latest round of the Zamp Helmets RGB Sports 1000 Championship. There'll be 4 more races to come after that, with the centrepiece of the weekend really, the Tequila Club Enduro Championship coming up straight after the RGB Sports 1000 race. Then for those of you here at the circuit, there's a slight change in the order to the programme, in that the Heritage Park Centre Formula V Championship race, which was timetabled to go as race 5, will in fact go at the end of the day now, when we hope that the gale force winds that are battering Silverstone will have subsided, and it will make the conditions slightly more raceable for the very lightweight single-seater cars. So they will go at the end of the day after the second race for the BMW Car Club Racing Championship and the opening race of the weekend for the Royal Purple Hot Hats Championship. Hello to all of you watching on the live stream on Alpha Live. Don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, you can subscribe to the Alpha Live feed and get lots more information and notifications indeed of when Alpha Live are streaming another event. It's not just 750 Motor Club race meetings, but other car and kart races as well around the country that Alpha Live are involved with streaming. So do subscribe to their YouTube channel and check them out on social media. So we should have the RGB Sports 1000 cars brought out on the track shortly. You can see we've got marshals waiting for them on the grid. The 750 Motor Club safety car has just slotted into position as well at the end of the pit lane, should it be required. And it's a rather windy afternoon still here at Silverstone, but we should still be in for some very good racing from the RGB Sports 1000 Championship. My name's Ian Simon, up here in the commentary box. Alongside me is Marcus Pye once again. Marcus, good afternoon to you. The RGB Sports 1000 Championship, of course, is always a great spectacle and a fantastic sight, and the great technology within these sports prototype type machines.
Yes, very much so, Ian. Yes, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And it is always great to see a RGB or Sports 1000, as they're called these days, out and about. And again, it's going to be a Mattel versus Spire battle, as it's been for a long time. We've seen a Mattel take on and beat an entire field of radicals this morning. And the two Mattels in the field are first and third. Chippy Westermael, who had his breakthrough win at this meeting last year, as I recall. He is on pole. And between himself and Danny Andrew in the two Mattel MC53s will be Richard Morris with one of the Works Spires. So it really is a super field, and again, not very much between the top 3, less than 7/10 of a second. That really is encouraging. This strong crosswind is a bit troublesome. As you said, it's delayed the Formula V action, but those cars are super light. These motorcycle engined cars are nippy little things too, and it's Mattels and Spires till we get a fair way down the grid. We get to Tim Hovard with the Sabre, the Hovard Craft as we call it. Good to see Tony Gaunt back in action with the Wolf TG03. There's a lone contour out of Ian Kempson, and also a single BDN as well, that of Neil Gardner. So it's a good pack, 17 cars, and I think it promises much.
It certainly does. Let's have a look at how the championship lines up then. Leading the championship at this stage is Chippy Westermael. He is on 218 points at this stage of the season. He was unbeaten through the first 6 rounds of the championship at Brands Hatch, Silverstone and Anglesey, but it was Danny Andrew that took 2 race wins at Snetterton last time out. So Mattel have still won all 8 races so far this season. So Westermael has 218 points. Second in the standings is Ryan Yarrow on 181 points. He's had 5 third-place finishes along the way, but those have been his best finishes in the 8 rounds that we've had so far. He's one of the Spire GT3S drivers. Third in the standings is number 172. On 172 points is Richard Morris, another Spire GT3S, one of the Works efforts. Richard making his debut this season in the RGB Sports 1000 Championship. He's on 172. With those 2 wins last time out, Danny Andrew closed the gap to him. He's on 161. Colin Chapman has 153, and Phil Hutchins 143 points, rounding out the top 6 at this stage. Colin Chapman leading the Sporting Cup which is for drivers that don't have an overall podium finish at any point during the season. The cars are coming out onto the circuit now, as you can see. Let's run you through the grid then. Pole position will be number 29, Chippy Westmail, in the Mattel MC53. He did a 1 minute 10.02 in qualifying, which was just about a second outside Matt Higginson's lap record for these cars. And alongside him on the front of the grid will be number 11, Richard Morris, who had some dramas yesterday. And he did an engine change on Thursday night, I think it was, before testing yesterday. He didn't really get much running in the car yesterday to establish whether that engine was working well or not, but qualifying this morning proved it was working pretty well. Did a 1:10.49, which is just under half a second off Chippy Westmail's time. Second row on the inside will be number 27, Danny Andrew in the Mattel, and James Walker, number 20 in the Spire GT3. Will be fourth on the grid. He's had a pretty good qualifying session there. Head of John Cutmore, who has been a class champion in the past in RGB Sports 1000. He lines up fifth in car number 1, alongside number 54, Ryan Yarrow, the man that's second in the championship. Row 4 will be 34, Stephen Dean in the Spire, and another Spire next to him is 31, Colin Spicer. Row 5, Tim Hovard in the Sabre T2A. He is car number 50, and next to him is 63, his old sparring partner and fellow 750 Motor Club board director Colin Chapman. Row 6 will be 87, Tom Johnston, a relative newcomer to the championship, and 72, Jonathan McGill. Tony Gaunt lines up on row 7 in car number 49 in the Wolf, a unique car on the grid, and Ian Kempson, number 36 in the Contour alongside him. Two more Spires on row 8, 44, Danny Austin, and 5, David Watson. Not the Dave Watson, but a different David Watson in the RGB Sports 1000, the one we've seen in RGB Sports 1000 in the past. And then completed the grid on row number 9 on his own is number 88, Neil Gardner, the ex-MG Metro racer in the BDN S3. So that's the way the grid is lining up. You can see the marshals getting the cars into position. On the right-hand side of your shot then is that number 29 car of Chippy Westmail, Christopher to give him his given name, but Chippy is almost universally known, and he did that 1:10.02 in practice this morning, relatively late on in the session. All of the fast laps were set towards the end of the 15-minute qualifying session. And then Richard Morris next to him, number 11, one of the co-founders of Racing Pride, who the charity that is raising awareness of LGBT plus inclusivity in motorsport. He's sporting the stickers of that organisation on his car. Row 2 on the inside, you've got number 27, Danny Andrew, driver that won last time out at Snetterton on two occasions. He previously was a low-cost champion a few years ago. And James Walker, who's a bit of a stalwart. He's been a Class F champion when we had a front-engine division in RGB Sports 1000. He lines up next to him. He's had a very good qualifying session indeed. Well, the green flag's waved at the back, and the race gets underway then. The cars storm down towards us for the first time. It looks like it's the Mattel that leads. Yes, it is, of number 29, but getting around the outside of him there is number 27, Danny Andrew. Those two pretty much alongside one another as they head through farm, now towards village for the first time in this race, and it is the blue car of Danny Andrew that's ahead, although he runs wide through that hairpin, and off over the grass there was number 1. That was John Cutmore, 63. Colin Chapman has had a spin coming out of the hairpin as well, and he will get going again right at the back of the field with work to do. But yes, taking the lead then with that mistake coming out of the hairpin for Danny Andrew has gone Chippy Westmail. So it's Chippy Westmail that's leading. Second is Danny Andrew. Third is number 20, James Walker. And then the two Spires, the Works Livered Spires side by side, of Richard Morris and Ryan Yarrow in cars 11 and 54 respectively. We'll try and sort out which order they've come through in just a moment. But it's the two Mattels out front as they come through towards the end of lap 1. Through the Vale they go. 29 Chippy Westmail that leads, and then 27 Danny Andrew is in second place, Marcus.
Yes, indeed, it's the red Mattel which leads from the blue ones. It's Westmail from Andrew by half a second at this point, and the chase led by James Walker. Then it's Richard Morris in that Works Spire, followed by teammate it's Ryan Yarrow, isn't it, going through behind him. Colin Spicer, currently 6th ahead of Tim Hovard, Stephen Dean, Jonathan McGill, Tom Johnston. But if we look at our big screens, there's some superb speed demonstrated from the quickest guys as they come out onto the hangar straight, coming out of the very deceptive link road, which brings them across. Now, can Andrew sneak close enough to Westmail to pick up a tow? They're wind-cheating cars. They probably don't give off great tows, in actual fact, but down into the Stowe they come. Right-hander, not quite as it used to be when I saw Jim Clark win the British Grand Prix here back in 1967, but nonetheless, a real test of driver and car as they come through. It's getting closer up front. The 27 car of Danny Andrew closing in on Wesmail, I sense. Wesmail gets a little bit sideways over the curb coming through there, and James Walker just watching at a safe distance.
He is. Walker there in third. Richard Morris, who has made another rather bad start. He's really not got the hang of getting the car off the line, unfortunately, Richard Morris, during the course of this season. His first season in sports car racing, an ex-Formula Ford 1600 driver, both in the Castle Combe Championship down in Wiltshire and in the National Championship as well. But Richard Morris is showing good pace, but not necessarily good pace getting off the line so far this season. So it's the two Mittels out front, quite a long way clear at the moment of the Spire of James Walker. They've just completed 2 laps, only 1 flying lap down. We'll get some more representative lap times probably at the end of this one, with the strong headwind that they're just going into now at down the Hanger Straight. I'm not expecting we'll be sort of in lap record territory today, although of course they do get a tailwind on the shorter start and finish straight. Wesmail it is then in this 18-minute plus 1 lap race, continuing to lead. There's Walker. And there is the 2 Spires, Morris followed by Yarrow, Tim Hovard in the bright yellow hovercraft, you can see, the Sabre T2A. And there's Jonathan McGill, number 72, running in 9th place, and Tom Johnston, number 87, rounding out the top 10.
Yeah, Andrew got a little bit closer coming into Abbey that time, and then you saw he lost downforce, just ran a little bit wide. Just at the front it picked up a tad, and that's the problem you get when you try to go through these very, very rapid corners in the dirty area of the car in front.
That's Colin Spicer in 6th place, behind him Tim Hovard in 7th, only about a quarter of a second separating them at the start of the lap. Colin Spicer, who's raced various different cars in the RGB Sports 1000, but now he's joined the masses really, and is racing in one of the Spires. He is lying 14th in the championship coming into this weekend, only had the 1 top 6 finish so far this year. And he's just in behind the number 54 car of Ryan Yarrow. Hovard pulling out of the slipstream here into Stowe Corner. Can he get ahead of Colin Spicer in number 31? Hovard is going to do it, I think. Yes, he has. Down the inside at Stowe Corner, so that's Tim Hovard now up inside the top 6 in the Sabre, the number 50 car, as he heads down into the Vale, and he's not too far behind Ryan Yarrow either. The gap between Yarrow and Spicer at the beginning of that was about 9/10 of a second, and it's probably about the same now as they come on to start their 5th lap.
Yeah, it'd be a good scalp to claim that of Ryan Yarrow, currently second in the championship for Tim Hovard. But here's the lead battle, and again, under braking, Danny Andrew gets really, really close up into the Link Road, towards what they call the loop on the Grand Prix circuit.
Yeah, there's Hovard, and he's going after Yarrow, a fancy. Here is the 2 leaders then, under the vehicle bridge, halfway along the Hanger Straight, now into Stowe Corner. 29 is Wesmail, 27 is Danny Andrew. Wesmail from Marlborough, Andrew from Spalding in Lincolnshire. Down towards the Vale once again, the 2 Mittels doing battle here. They've done all of the winning between them during the course of this year. Not got as many Mittels on the grid at the moment as we have had in the past. Paul Smith started the season, but we've not seen him since the opening event, had problems there.
What happened to Wesmail's challenge at Snetterton here?
That's a good question. I wasn't at Snetterton. It's the one event I've missed so far this season, but I think from memory there was a mechanical issue of some kind.
Then he got a single point in the second race.
Yeah, it was a DNF for him there in race 2. It was a weather-disrupted meeting, I recall. It was quite a wet meeting there, so I think that played its part in proceedings as well.
They're incredibly well matched. I mean, their best lap times are 1/100th of a second apart at the moment early in this race. And they're working lap 6 now as they come round.
Yeah, and it is a 1:10.39 for Wesmail, a 1:10.40 for Andrew. Best lap for Richard Morris in 4th place. He was starting on the front row, of course, only a 1:11.23, so he's the thick end of a second slower than the two Mittels, which I think he'll be a little bit disappointed by. I think he would have been hoping to catch them, but he's now 6.8 seconds adrift of the two leaders. In the background there we are watching, I think that's it, Ian Kempston and Carl Austin. Ian Kempston number 36, Carl Austin number 44. And Carl Austin, I think that's the ex-Matt Higginson
certainly that colour, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and that was a car that's had success in this championship in the past, but I think Carl having his first races in the RGB Sports 1000 Championship.
Yeah, novice cross on the back of it, I noticed.
There's Tim Hovard. Now he has caught Ryan Yarrow. The gap between those two cars as they came through Abbey that time, only about 2 or 3 tenths of a second. So now heading down to the hairpin at Village.
Hovard looking menacing with, yes, he's got through on the exit of the corner, and he got back into the power much quicker than Ryan Yarrow could.
This is one of his better races, Tim Hovard, then, up into 5th place.
Is that car going to give off a fair tow? 'Cause it's quite a sizable body, isn't it, on it? It's quite high,
yeah,
and it does give a good tow, and out of that tow pops Ryan Yarrow, gets the place back coming down into Stowe.
It's quite noticeable, isn't it, when you see them sort of side by side like that, the difference in the just the height of those
Hovard's
cars.
taken more speed through the apex of Stowe, but territorial advantage is claimed by Ryan Yarrow again into Village.
Yeah, Hovard's had 3 top 6 finishes so far this season. Yarrow's had 7 out of 8, and 5 of those have been podiums as well. So probably, if anything, Hovard punching slightly above his normal performance, and Yarrow not quite living up to his normal expectations here this weekend. As things stand, there's this battle for 5th and 6th coming through. Just behind them, you can see in the background, 7th was Colin Spicer and 8th evening, but this is now the battle for 3rd that we're seeing. We'll pick that up again in a moment. That was James Walker having been caught by Richard Morris. Those two now heading on to the Hanger Straight. So Morris will be picking up the tow, and in this case you've got two very similar cars together, the two Spires, similar bodywork, so similar aerodynamics, but Morris down the inside of Walker, and he goes through into 3rd place there at Stowe Corner, but he runs a little bit wide there on the exit, but nevertheless Richard Morris, the Cambridge graduate, is there in 3rd position now, ahead of James Walker. So 8.5 minutes to go, so we're just over halfway through this race. Morris up to 3rd, but he's got 9 seconds or so to catch the two leaders, who are now separated by about 8 tenths of a second. Morris to 3rd, Walker to 4th, Ryan Yarrow is 5th, Tim Hovard 6th. Still having a good battle just ahead of Colin Spicer, number 31, and Stephen Dean, number 34.
Yeah, Colin Chapman off that early spin. He's hauling his way back up the order. He's back into 11th place and lapping quicker than the couple of cars ahead of him. And there is Yarrow back inside the number 50 car of Hovard. He runs a bit wide over the curbs. Wider still is Spicer. And in behind them is 34, which is Stephen Dean.
Yeah, there's Morris then in the front of shot, pulling away from Walker now. Be interesting to see what his lap time is now. He's got some clear track ahead of him. It looks like Stephen Dean possibly about to attack Spicer into Stowe. Pulls alongside in the number 34 car. The Spire's dominating the grid these days. We'll see in a second if he's made it through. Yes, he looks like he has. So Spicer down to 8th position.
Kind of let Hovard off the hook a little bit in the yellow car ahead of them, because while they were battling between themselves, Tim got his clog down on the Hanger Straight. Suddenly it's 2.2 seconds between Wesmail and Andrew. That's grown in 2 laps.
Yeah, it's a combination of a good lap for Wesmail on the last lap and a slower lap for Danny Andrew. Did a 1:11.62, 1.3 seconds off his best. Morris has done a couple of good laps in the lower 11s now, 11 dead and 11.02 as well.
I've seen it before. Wesmail is so consistent. His last lap was just 0.07 of a second outside his best of the race, which is the fastest of all, 1:10.20.
Yeah, he was second in the championship last year, of course, to Billy Oldbone, who took 8 wins. Wesmail took 3, and Paul Smith took 3 last season. But as you mentioned, Wes Merle did get a breakthrough win here, or a spin there for the Wolf. That's Tony Gaunt, number 49, that's gone around at Village by the looks of it, but has got going once again.
That looper, the Wolf. Looper has looped.
Indeed, so yes, Smith and Wes Merle shared the wins last year. Apart from that, every time the RGB Sports 1000s have raced on this configuration, it's been a double winner, so the same winner for both races during the course of the weekend. So we'll see if...
And here's Hobart in behind Yarrow again. He's managed to whittle down that gap, and he looks up the inside. Is he close enough? He's not. And there's a little bit more rain on the commentary box window. It's only very light sort of drizzle, but it's being gusted across the track by this pretty brutal wind. Stephen Dean's just behind them.
He is. He did his personal best lap time on the last lap to catch up to those two. So 5th, 6th and 7th right together now with 5 minutes and 20 seconds left to go. We've got Wes Merle leading by 2.8 seconds now from Danny Andrew, with Richard Morris in 3rd position. There's that car of 49, which is this one that's been spinning. Oh, and here we are, side by side through Stowe Corner, and Hovard looks like he's got the place back from Yarrow. He's done that once before during the course of this race, but not managed to retain it. Yarrow trying to outbrake him down into the Vale, and he's got the place back immediately. So real close wheel-to-wheel racing, no contact, which was good to see between those two cars. But with Yarrow making the move there, he has carried more momentum down the start and finish straight, I think. So that's just given him a slight edge over Hovard, who's now got to focus on defending from number 34, Stephen Dean.
Yes, it's kind of a twin focus. He's best off just looking at the car in front of him and seeing what he can do about Ryan Yarrow. Important points today if it stays like this for Danny Andrew, who is 4th in the title race. And here we come onto the hangar straight. Stephen Dean inching closer again to Hovard. Hovard in the yellow car in behind Yarrow. Isn't quick enough in a straight line to try it into Stowe this time. And Stephen Dean quite happy just to sit there on this occasion. And he's run quite wide, missed the apex little Stephen Dean that time. That's cost him a couple of car lengths.
Hovard trying to outbrake him, trying to go around the outside into...
Bold.
It was. It's not worked out for him, as you can see, but...
I wonder why.
I admire the initiative, but it didn't work out at all.
At least it was an effort. Yeah, it was a good try. And they're very close again. He's not going to do it up into Abbey because the rather sleek...
Andrew spun. Danny Andrew has spun from 2nd place.
And he's lost... That's lost him some places, hasn't it?
I think it probably has. We'll just check exactly where he has
Richard
rejoined.
Morris may well have gone through, maybe even James Walker.
I think so, because then this is the next battle coming through now, isn't it? So with Yarrow at the head of it.
That's getting really good because there's 4 of them in there. Yes, I think he now is 4th, Danny Andrew.
Well, it was strange because he was about 3 seconds behind, well, 5 seconds actually behind Wes Merle before that. So it wasn't like he was battling particularly. He was 5 seconds behind the car in front. He was 6 seconds ahead of the car behind him. So there's no pressure on really. So that's a strange one. I don't know if there's a back marker involved, but...
yeah, the last lap was a much longer lap as well for Danny Andrew, but this one has cost him dear. And this is a super tussle now with Yarrow, Hovard, Dean and Spicer in that battle for 5th place. Spicer looked up the inside of Stephen Dean, 34, but Dean got his power on earlier, coming out of last chicane.
Along the start and finish straight they come, the international pit straight. And it's still Yarrow in 5th place, number 54. Hovard 50 is in 6th place. Stephen Dean 7th, number 34, and Colin Spicer 31 is next up. Down into the hairpin. Hovard thinks about having a luck, but again, it's luck comes to nothing.
1 3/4 minutes still left on the clock.
Yeah, and then we have 1 lap more at the end of that, so still probably a couple of laps to go. Along the hangar straight they come, all in single file for the moment. Stephen Dean is the first to pull out, then Tim Hovard.
I was a bit surprised that Dean did that so early on the straight, but he's got himself in a situation now where he's up the inside but not close enough into Stowe Corner.
No, he's not close enough to make that work this time.
They're going rapidly out of Stowe is Hovard down the outside this time. He has another go, takes him in deep, which of course compromises the right-hand element of the corner initially. He's back on the power pretty quickly.
It's just hard to see that ever working though, isn't it?
Exactly.
Isn't it? Yeah.
It might work with absolute desperation on the last lap and a scramble.
Yeah, I think that would be about it.
But it will need a scramble.
And it's Colin Spice then, number 31 in 8th place. It's a long way back to Tom Johnson, number 87, who is not 9th anymore because Colin Chapman has just got ahead of him. So having spun right to the back, Colin Chapman back up to 9th position now, getting back ahead of the 87 car. Here's this scrap. Oh, and now Hovard's lost a place to Stephen Dean there. So that's coming back onto the hangar straight through the link. Hovard has now dropped back to 7th place, which is as low as he's been all race, I think.
That may encourage Colin Spicer in the black and orange car. The Wildmoor Racing entry down the inside. Hovard puts himself into that little gap at Stowe, hoping that Dean would run wide again as he's done on previous laps. It's not to be. Hovard now trying to suss out Stephen Dean, who just outbraked himself fractionally, and Hovard trying to go into a gap which doesn't exist on the outside because it's closed on him. And Yarrow it is who's got the advantage in that little group now.
Yeah, he's got, you would think now, comfortable enough advantage to sit on as we're going to go on to the last lap next time around.
27, Danny Andrew is closing in all the time on James Walker, so may salvage a podium out of this. Up comes the yellow car of Hovard into the tight right-hander. They're still side by side, but he can't stay there through the camber change in the road as well as a turn. And really, really wide goes Stephen Dean. That's going to cost him, and that's let Hovard back in. He ducks into the slipstream, but I think it's more in hope than anticipation because he's got the biggest car in terms of frontal area down the straight.
Meanwhile, Chippy Westmail has gone on to his final lap of the race. Some about 12 seconds, I think it will be clear of Richard Morris now, who goes over the line. Yeah, 12.2 seconds it is, but what of the battle for third? Well, it looks like
Andrew's back up into third.
Is third, yeah, so he's got back ahead of James Walker, already pulled out 1.3 seconds over him as they now lap the 44 car of Carl Austin. So Hovard, we can see on screen at the moment, and he is about to start, or he's just starting his final lap. It looks like Ryan Yarrow's got 5th place sewn up, but 6th still to be disputed and decided between Dean, Hovard and indeed Colin Spicer there in 8th position. Down towards the hairpin they go.
Outside for Hovard this time. Is he close enough? No, he's not. Spicer runs off the road, back onto it. Just left his braking that fraction too late. Yarrow's got away. Dean again really, really wide, but he maintains good momentum out of all that.
Yeah, as we've got the checkered flag out now, and the race is won by Chippy Westmail. So Chippy Westmail resumes his victory habit then, which he lost temporarily at Snetterton. It's his 7th victory of the season in the Zamp helmets. RGB Sports 1000 Championship. Richard Morris it is that comes home in 2nd place, and Danny Andrew 3rd. It looks like this battle has petered out now between Stephen Dean, Tim Hovard and Colin Spicer. Let's just make sure that they all safely make it through the final couple of turns, but yeah, it looks like it is Ryan Yarrow that's going to come home in 5th place, then Stephen Dean in 6th, so well done to him. The number 34 car, that is his 2nd top 6 finish of the season. Tim Hovard 7th, Colin Spicer in 8th, and quite a long gap it will be back to the remaining top 10 finishers.
Danny Andrew, that moment he had and spun the car will have cost him points because he was trying to close in, wasn't he, on Ryan Yarrow?
Yeah, and indeed Richard Morris as well.
And he could have done with some extra points out of that and done himself out of them. Yeah,
well, he'll lose ground obviously to Morris now, finishing behind him. He will gain a little bit on Yarrow, but not as much as he might have done. As the cars make their way round on the slowing down lap. Chippy Wesmell, we hardly saw him during the course of the race, and that probably tells you how dominant he was, winning by 11.19 seconds in the end from Richard Morris. Third place went to number 27, Danny Andrew, after that spin. Fourth was James Walker, who was in the podium places for a while. Fifth to number 54, Ryan Yarrow. Sixth to 34, Stephen Dean. Seventh to 50, Tim Howard. 8th to 31, Colin Spice. So that was the battle of the race. Colin Chapman coming back to 9th, Tom Johnson 10th. Then rounding out the finishers, Jonathan McGill, and then 5 drivers a lap down. 49, Tony Gaunt after a spin. 36, Ian Kempson, and 44, Carl Austin, 5, David Watson, and 88, Neil Gardner, rounded out the 16 finishers in the Zamp Helmets RGB Sports 1000 Championship, and we see those back out again tomorrow. So I can see out of my commentary box window that the top 3 drivers are now heading into the pit lane. The 750 Motor Club marker boards are down there, doing well not to blow away in the wind. We'll hear from our top 3 now with Josh Barrett, who's also doing very well not to blow away in the wind.
Thanks, Ian. Scott Mattel congratulates his driver, Chippy Wesmell, who took another win. Didn't take them 2 wins, as you said, at Snetterton. Danny Andrew won both of those, but great comeback this weekend from Chippy to take a victory there. So we'll let him take his helmet off, and then we'll have a word with the Mattel driver. 2nd year of car racing for him. Well done, Chippy. After Snetterton, that went as best planned for you there to take the win back.
Yeah, no, it's great to get back on the top step of the podium again. Team have done a great job. We've been facing electrical gremlins today. I mean, we nearly didn't get out for the race, so it's great to come out there, put on a show hopefully, and have some fun.
Real battle you had with Danny in the first half of the race.
Yeah, he is so fast. It's just the team, Scott Mattel, Ian, you know, everyone's put together such a great car. Big thanks to Core Modular for making this happen, really.
And a great day it has been for Mattel with Scott winning earlier on.
Yeah, I mean, I can't congratulate them enough again. Like, both cars have been so good all weekend, and hopefully we can continue it from here.
Would you like to have a go in the bigger car?
I mean, who wouldn't love a go in the bigger car? But no, we'll just see what happens and keep at this, because it's so close, and yeah, keep at it.
Well done.
Thank you.
So that was our race winner, Chippy Wesmell. 2nd place driver over here was Richard Morris in the Spire sports car. Richard, 2nd place there, but he had a lot of work to do after the start.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting the 5-second board straight out, so I wasn't quite ready for the start, but yeah, I mean, it was horrendous conditions out there for racing. It was so windy, it made the conditions really tricky, so I'm not surprised Danny had the spin, which obviously helped me up into 2nd. But yeah, it was a case of after that start, just, you know, see what you can do, chip away at the cars in front. Fortunately, I was able to get that podium place. And then, as I say, great to inherit 2nd off Danny. The conditions were so tough. It's just great to, you know, bring the car back, get back on the podium.
Yeah, because Snetterton was so disappointed after the double pole, so like you say, pleased to be back here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've had lots and lots of pace. Fastest lap, both races at Anglesey. The pole positions for both races at Snetterton. Obviously, it was so disappointing to have the car just not quite make it to the end of the first race at Snetterton. And then obviously very tricky conditions in the second one there. But yeah, wonderful to get back on the podium, be back in the fight, and yeah, bring home a trophy for Spire.
Lots of 750 Motor Club competitors carrying the Racing Pride stickers. Do you have a few words about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely fantastic how 750 have got behind Racing Pride. It's a wonderful initiative developed alongside Stonewall to promote LGBT inclusivity through motorsports. And yeah, it's fantastic, the positivity around it, and 750 couldn't have been better about promoting it. Also, massive respect to Chris Wiesmeal, who's running it on his car as well, showing this isn't about teams, this isn't about rivals, this is about us all believing in something.
Well done in your 2nd place then in